My name is Sunhan. Today we're going to be talking about monopolies. Now, first thing we got to explain is the difference between a monopoly and a monopolistic competitive. So basically, monopolistic competitive markets is basically more of brands. So if we're talking about phones, for this example, you have many manufacturers for phones, but the monopolistic part comes from the brand itself. For that, you can only get iPhones from Apple, so they have a monopoly on that type of phone. But you have a lot of competitors in that market, and it's a low barrier. Anyone can join and just start making phones. So that's basically that type of market, low barrier, a lot of competition, and the prices. And over time, you're gonna cut into your demand, and your demand's gonna shift. That's a big thing with that, because you have substitutes for you for like your product, and they differentiate. You have a lot of products that differentiate. Now we're talking about Monopoly. You usually have one player. Yeah, you only have one player. They're price makers, so they set their own prices because they're only one. There's a lot of there's a lot of barriers to get in. So for example, is if I'm in a certain area and I have like my energy company Duke Energy, well they have a monopoly on that area. So let's get into the graph for it. So first thing I understand is you have demand, and then you also have marginal revenue, which is half of demand, marginal cost, and ATC. Now the first thing we want to talk about is the profit maximizing quantity they want to produce. Now I didn't draw this correctly, the scale, so just pretend. But anyway, it's supposed to be when marginal cost and marginal revenue are together. This is supposed to be right here, so just ignore that. Please bear with me. So this is supposed to be here, and they're gonna produce at Q1, and they're gonna basically for the price maximize the price is gonna be right here. They're basically just gonna go at the price that people are going to pay, that are willing to pay. Now, the issue with this is not efficient because right here at C, you come down from here, you have the social optimal quantity. This is what people want right here. And then the social optimal price. But they want to produce it. They don't want to produce at the socially optimal. They want to produce that where MC and MR hit. So naturally that's going to create dead weight. And that dead weight is right here. So the consumer surplus, which is up here, so the social optimal consumer surplus is right here. This is what they want, but they're not going to produce it. Now, you also have the revenue maximizing point. And that is basically when MR equals 0, or the MR all the way hits here on the graph. And that is Q2. I'm sorry I didn't draw that right, but Q2. And that is the revenue maximizing quantity at Q2. And that also shows which part is elastic and inelastic. So anything from here to Q2 is elastic. Basically meaning as price falls, total revenue is increasing. But then after that, when total revenue stops increasing because it maxes out at Q2, it's inelastic. Meaning as price falls, total revenue decreases. Now, let me make sure. Oh, yeah, I get to the other graphs. I'm just making sure I got everything. All right, let's continue. So anyway, what we're talking about, price discrimination. The companies can't really do that. Monopolies like the rural can't do that. They can't price discriminate. So if they want to lower their price, they lower the price for everything. But if they could, they have like a magical computer that can read the minds of how much a person is willing to pay every time they come up. then basically, instead of having two lines, the demand is the marginal revenue. And as you know, you can tell, they always want to produce where MC equals marginal revenue. So this now becomes the quantity for perfect price discrimination. Now, when I'm going to show you a graph for a loss, you can see it right here. And that is because as MR and MC, right here, this is the quantity, you come up to the price, profit maximizing price right there, and you can tell that the cost is above that. ATC is above that. So we cut that over. You see, this is the money they're making. I mean, the money they're making, and this right here is the total cost. And they're at a loss right now, and that's what it will look like when they're at a loss. Now, when they're breaking even, you also see that here because they produce at the socially optimal point right here. I mean, not a social optimal point, but if they produce right here, then they would be breaking even. And well, this is the graph for it right here. As you can see, MR and MC, so this is the quantity, come out, that's the price. And then the cost is right there, and then it's even. So they're breaking completely even. And that is everything for monopolies, I believe. Let me double check on it to checklist to make sure I got everything because there's a lot. Alright, I think that's everything. I'll make another video if I did leave it. Alright, this is on. I did forget unit elastic, so let me explain that real quick. So anyway, as you can see, anything Q2 went back is elastic, and then everything after that is inelastic. But anyway, when it goes, and it finally crosses or hits the 0 point, which is basically generally in between Q2 and then the other quantity, usually in the middle, you're gonna go straight up from there. I know this is ugly. And then as you can see, to Q2, and then E, and then any elastic, middle, and then this would be your unit elastic, which is basically like the dead center. When as soon as it hits that line, you go straight up, and you have unit elastic right there. It's usually it's in the middle of both of these, and that is it. Elastic, inelastic, inelastic, and it's all based off of this right here. Marginal revenue when it hits here, when it equals 0. Anything before that is elastic. Anything after that from the graph, like after 0 when it goes down, is inelastic, and you have unit elastic. So there we go.